Hello, and welcome to Socially Holistic Podcast. Socially Holistic helps coaches and holistic entrepreneurs and women in heart-centered businesses make sense of social media so they can build their own online network and get more clients. As a heart-centered business owner, you do amazing work. Holly's mission in life is to help you help more people. Help us help more women in business with a 5-star review of this podcast. Please leave one today over at iTunes. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more heart-centered businesses will be successful. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the Socially Holistic Podcast, episode 72. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm here with today's very special guest, Kylie Patchett. Kylie is a world leader in self-mastery and a mindset, money, and mojo coach for women entrepreneurs. Welcome, Kylie.
Hello, Holly. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. So why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about your background, which is very fascinating, very different to what you're doing today.
It is actually, do you know what? I don't think it actually is that different. On the surface it is, but I'll explain in a second. So I started my professional career as a forensic biologist, so working in crime scenes and with Queensland Police, which is the state of Australia that I live in. I then also studied physiology, so I was a sleep and respiratory trained physiologist, quite different to crime scene recovery. I've always been obsessed with biology and how we're put together, but even more importantly, how our minds work. I am absolutely fascinated by how the human condition internally and externally shows up. And now I use to be a forensic biologist really well, it's all about pattern recognition and seeing what doesn't fit and what's in the way, what doesn't work in the puzzle, what leads you to something else. So sort of following all those little clues, I guess. Mm-hmm. So now I just do it inside someone's head instead of in a crime scene. So that's how it ties together. It's I think I am the forensic detective inside someone's mindset now. And that, again, is still what fascinates me. I love helping people understand how they get in their own way and how, so how important it is how they feel about themselves and their way in the world and in their business lives and all of those things. Anyway, it's very exciting to me, this whole biology and mindset thing.
Excellent. And so how did you make the change from forensic biology to coaching?
Well, in between, I actually had... when I was in medical management, I was really, really aware that I wasn't in alignment to who I really wanted to be in the world. So I was in medicine, which is all about keeping people unwell to make money off them, generally. I know medicine has its place, but it is an acute, in my opinion, when your leg has been chopped off, that's when medicine is brilliant. But I was in a field of medicine where, lifestyle changes and mindset work and awareness around your own patterns would have helped people enormously. But what I had to do was go to work and be in a corporate uniform, in the box, following someone else's rules, getting paid what someone else thought that I was, worth, having holidays when I wanted to, no freedom, and also no alignment with how I actually run my own life, which is using alternative medicine and Eastern spirituality and all of those things that I feel are very, very, very helpful. So I felt out of alignment for a long time, but back in those days, I really was attached to the money that I was earning and also the status of being the boss of a medical company. Like, I just used to think that was just so cool. But I was really aware that I wasn't on track living my purpose. I didn't even really know what that meant. I was very, very left-brained, analytical, black and white back in those days. So I really didn't have an appreciation for, being soulful or intuitive or anything like that. So anyway, to cut a long story short, basically, the universe intervened. I had 2 babies in 12 months, my girls, who are now 9 and 10. Yeah, a bit of a shock to the system. Always adamant I didn't want children. Got married to a man that was like the Pied Piper and just all kids loved him. And so I was like, right, I guess I'm having kids. But also I became a carer for my dad. So he was 85, same year that I had the girls. Abby was born. Then my dad had a stroke and we became his full-time carer. And then Cleo was born 6 months afterwards. So I had to leave my job. There was no sort of option. It was a really, really challenging few years, but it also gave me the ability. When my dad passed away, he was 91, so he passed away six years later. I really, really had a chance to reflect on my life. And a lot of what I saw him doing was, I had this epiphany that at 91 he died and he had never, ever done what he wanted to do. Like, he'd never, ever lived from the heart, and he'd never delivered his gifts to the world. And he was born in the Depression in Australia. He was long-term army. He was the eldest son of an Irish Catholic family. So his view of the world was very much about duty and responsibility and doing the right thing. But I realized at this kind of epiphany where I was like, oh my God, I'm 36 years old and I've lived my life through exactly the same filter. So I'm doing everything from duty and responsibility, and even the way that I was trying to turn up in the workforce was all about doing the right thing. So I thought, you know what, Kylie, you've completely created this. You can uncreate it just as easily. And I just, had those, fork in the road, line in the sand sort of moment where I said, right, I'm going to give myself permission to live what I call a delicious life, which is a life that nourishes you. And we sold our house, moved to America. I retrained as a holistic health coach because I already had the background, but then very soon turned into mindset coaching and did lots and lots of training on mindset and human behavior and cognitive therapy because, again, that's where everything starts from, right? What you believe actually is created. So, very long story, sorry. But yes, coming back to it, basically, the epiphany around my dad's death really, really made me look at what do I really want to be doing in the world. And what I really want to be doing in the world is helping other people see that they have the power to create whatever they want in business and life, which is how my business was created.
Excellent. I love that. So when you were building this business, I mean, you went from having, a really successful career to taking the time off to be with your father and then starting up with this business. How did that go for you? I mean, did you have any kind of tipping point where you kind of went from struggling to set up this business to just all of a sudden it flowing? How did that go for you?
Yeah, okay. So my first 12, and I'm sure you've already read this somewhere, it's pretty much part of my story. My first 12 months in business, I earned $12,000, and that's Australian, so it's not even it's even less in American.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And of course, you've got running costs for a business, so I actually operated at a loss. And I know that a lot of businesses do that in the first couple of years, but I expected that when I qualified to be a coach and I was doing my life purpose, that all of a sudden I would just be earning my corporate income again.
Of course.
I just expected that I would hang out my shingle and people would come flocking. Looking back now, I think, thank you.
Don't we all think that when we train as coaches?
Yeah,
because
totally.
it's just so inspiring and you just think, I am living my purpose. This is amazing. They will all come to me.
Yeah. Well, you hear it all the time, right? Do what you love and the money will flow.
Yes.
And I'm like, yes, I agree with that to a certain extent. But this is where I'm always saying to my business coaching clients is, yes, you've got to be aligned soul-wise, but you've got to have some damn good strategy on top of that, girl. Like, you've got to be consistent and focused and, persistent. Get up every single time, because entrepreneurship is all about getting up again and again and again. So in that first year, I got to the end of my first year, I was sitting in my accountant's office and he said, you'd earned $12,000. And I had a really, really unhealthy relationship with money. I just thought, looking back now, I really didn't feel that I was worthy of earning a really good income because I still had all that. I'm not good enough to do this. Who am I to teach people about health? I'm not perfect enough to be a coach yet, blah, 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 all that mindset shizzle that gets in people's way. In my second year, I did have a tipping point, but it was, again, more of a mental tipping point. I think for me, the growth of my business, someone said to me the other day, what's your number one kind of secret? And I was like, well, I don't believe in number one secrets, but if I had to pick anything about myself, it would be sheer pig-headedness. Like, I am so flipping determined. And every time something happens that doesn't work out, I'm like, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I do it better next time? Is there an easier way? Is there someone that can help me? And that was really what I did in that tipping point. I knew that my gaps were around mindset. I hadn't learnt mindset coaching then. Mm-hmm. I knew that there was around mindset, and I also knew that I just wasn't good at marketing myself. Like, I was awesome at being the figurehead of someone else's company. I rocked at it. I could network, I could network under the, anyone. I could go up and introduce myself. But as my own business owner, I had so many blocks around, asking for connection or contribution from another expert or just asking for money. Like, I was so bad at that. So in that second year, I just again, pulled out my pig-headed determination and went, right, I'm going to learn from this, because I did think for about 3.5 minutes about getting a job. And then I thought, that's just ridiculous. I'm never going to have a job ever again in my life. And so I just went, no. So in that second year, I really committed to learning about what I call the art of elegant selling, about understanding your superpowers, about really, really getting comfortable with not only the alignment of my business, but also getting really savvy on the strategy behind growing a really good business. And I quite gobsmackingly at the end of that year had earned almost 10 times more than what I had in the first year. And I just thought, sheesh, imagine what I could do if I actually knew what I was doing.
If I actually had a strategy and applied it.
Yeah, exactly. Because even in that second year, I still felt like I was fumbling along. But I did learn a lot about myself. And I also learned, I think the big thing about business is just understanding what, and I always talk about superpowers, and I know people do talk about that, but really understanding what really lights you up and what you're just doing because someone else told you should in a business model, because I don't believe that's a sustainable business. You're doing it someone else's way. Sooner or later, you either head to burnout, or you resent the clients that you've got, or you start getting, I'm definitely a freedom seeker. If I have too many appointments in my calendar, I get really bajiggity. I don't like having too many appointments in my calendar. So I've got to make really, really conscious effort to have space and a lot of, free flow room. I love creating things. So if I don't have creation space in my calendar every week, I get really, really antsy. And that's when I don't turn up well, as a woman, as a mum, as a business owner, anything like that. So I think that's one of the key things that I've learned definitely since that first year.
Excellent. And this year you had your best month ever, didn't you? You had a massively huge launch.
I did. It was very exciting. Although, I wrote a post just after that because you're talking about a post underneath stuff at Thomas's blog, and I wrote the best month ever. And then I actually wrote a post called The Whole Truth About Being an Entrepreneur, because I think that we can talk a lot about best months evers, but there's not that many people that talk about the other side, which is the failed launches and the things that didn't work. So I did have an amazing launch. I started at the beginning of this year. I was starting to do a lot of one-on-one coaching with women entrepreneurs who are struggling with self-care, but even more so struggling with mindset and money consciousness in their businesses. And I was just like, okay, obviously personal mindset coaching is kind of morphing into something else. And as I always do, following the sparks of what happens in my business, I decided that I wanted to create a mastermind. I was like, okay, so I had the idea around about Christmas Day. I wrote the sales page and put it up around mid-January, and by mid-February, I'd had my best month ever, which was almost a $90,000 launch, which is amazing. I will say, though, just to clarify, that's actually income for an entire year as well. Like, people think, oh, best month ever, she had $90,000 in her bank account. No, I didn't. That's ongoing income. And the only reason I say that is because I am really, really, really anti all those shiny marketing messages out there that go, I had my best month ever. And people that are new in this entrepreneurial game read it and psych themselves out because they're like, I can't do that. And it's because we don't tell, or some people don't tell the whole truth. Like, the next launch, I expected it to be a $50,000 launch, and it was only a $26,000 launch. Like, there's always going to be balance of good and bad. And if you know that, and you learn from the mistakes, and you also learn from the successes, what worked, what didn't work, and, how can we amplify it next time, then you understand what it really takes. Because entrepreneurship is not a flipping easy, I don't know whether you have this saying over there, but we say kettle of fish in Australia. Like, this is not an easy kettle of fish. It's not something that you just go, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and all of a sudden you're earning $100,000. Like, just delete that.
Doesn't happen.
From your, exactly. And I think when we're serious, when we're fully talking about all of the ends of entrepreneurship, then people know what they're getting in for, and then they can decide whether they really want to do it or not. Because not everyone should be an entrepreneur, I don't think.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everyone.
Yeah. So yes, I did have an awesome launch, and I'm very, very, very blessed to work with the ladies that I do in the Mind Money Mojo Mastermind. It was one of those following your intuition, your creative spark, and putting something out there. I had no idea whether anyone even wanted a combination of mindset, money consciousness, and self-care. Like, to my knowledge, no one has ever done that before. So I was like, I don't know. I could end up with one person here, but I just thought, I'll put it out there. You can never know.
So did you ask around? Did you ask your list? Did you ask people on
Nope.
social media? You just
Nope.
went for it. This is what I want to
Yep.
do, so we're going to do it.
Yeah, because I had been trying to box my services a lot. Like, okay, I'll do life coaching and then separately I'll do mindset coaching. And I just thought, you know what? I think one of my superpowers is that I have got a health background. I've got a spirituality background. I've studied lots of traditional Chinese medicine. So I've got the mind, body, soul thing happening. And I was trying to separate that from the business coaching I was doing. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. That's like this is your unique kettle of fish, to say it again. and it's going to be different to everyone else's. And I think that in marketing yourself, if you're trying to hide bits and pieces of what you could bring to the table with a client, you're almost guaranteeing that you're working with the wrong people, because if you're not fully open, if you're not fully sort of out there as your full self or fully integrated, I believe that it can really muck up with that client attraction thing that happens when you are. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to give myself permission to do all of these things I love, and I'll just see whether it works or not. And it did. There you go. So it may not have. So yeah.
And another thing I seem to have read on your website is that before you had this fantastic launch, you took 4 weeks off from your business. So you kind of took a big break.
I did.
Thought about things and then launched.
Can I be honest about the big break? Here's the other whole truth. I had adrenal fatigue. Like, I was so sick I couldn't stand up.
Oh, wow.
And it was because, again, I was following someone else's way of doing business, which was lots of selling people into, and I see this all the time in the marketplace, like all these they're coaches that coach coaches, like that, dog sort of thing. The coaches that coach coaches, and they say, the way that I earned my first 30,000 or 40,000 or 50,000, whatever it is that I signed specifically high value one-on-one coaching packages. So, you hear that all the time. Like, the way to make your first $100,000 is to get $10,000 clients or whatever. That's all well and good, and it does work for some people. But for me, again, freedom seeker, lots and lots of high touch one-on-one ongoing coaching led me to adrenal fatigue.
Wow.
So really the 4 weeks off was actually
4 weeks of recovery.
Necessary. And then I had to understand, or I had to really, really deep dive and give myself space to tap into my intuition and get some clarity around the fact that what is it that I really want to do? What is it that's going to feel easy for me to deliver, but also provides massive value? And that's where the mastermind came from. That was the question I was asking myself, because I couldn't keep going the way that I was with that many clients. And again, freedom seeker, like, this is know thyself, right? Looking at my calendar and seeing that I have 10 or 12 or 15 one-on-one coaching clients a week feels like someone is squashing me back into a corporate cubicle, because it feels really constricted and it feels not open and it doesn't feel creative and I'm great at one-on-one coaching, but it is not where I am best shining, especially not at that volume. So I really just had to go. And, this is the thing about business. You've got to give yourself permission to change your mind.
Yes.
Like, I've got a mentor that says, Kylie, it's not tattooed on your butt. Like, any decision you make today, you can change tomorrow if you need to. And I don't know, I think that sometimes people make decisions about their business model and they're like, right, this is the way it's going to be. And even when it feels hard and when there's lots of resistance and when they're feeling, drained and it's not working, they're still going, no, this is the way to do it. And I'm like, or you could look at what would be easier in your fluid superpowers and do it that way.
Exactly. I think a lot of people are afraid to switch things up because they feel like, I can't be seen as I'm constantly changing things. But, it's your business. You need to do things the way is best for you. And I think business is such a huge learning experience.
Oh, God, yes. Yes.
And you completely evolve and you progress, along with your business. So you've got to give yourself permission to let your business make changes.
Absolutely. And I think that, it's been said bazillions of times before, entrepreneurship is the biggest self-development journey you could ever sign up for. I totally agree with that. And so would it sound silly to people if you said, okay, you're going to go to this self-development thing, but you're going to have to stay the same? Like, that's ridiculous. That's what you're saying to yourself when you say, I can't change. And yes, I agree that, we're not talking about the lack of focus that happens when people are trying things and they're flitting around and they've got bright, shiny object syndrome and they're changing things and they say that they're this one week and then the next week they're emailing saying there's something else. I don't mean that. I mean considered, intuitive, real, self-inquiry questions about what do I really want my business to be looking like in 12 months' time or 5 years' time or whatever, and just making changes based on that. And you know what? Your community respects you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you can be honest about what's not working for you, because really, if it's not working for you, you're not turning up the way you should be for your clients anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Like, it's like double jeopardy. It's not working for you, but it's also by definition not working for your clients as well as what it could be if you were in flow. So yeah, give yourself permission to change, because this is about growth and evolution. Like if you'd told me 2.5 years ago when I first started my business, or almost 3 actually, years ago when I first started my business, that I would be doing mindset and money consciousness coaching for women entrepreneurs, I would have said you're a crazy person and you need to go and have your head looked at. But that's the power of giving yourself permission to go where the universe and your superpowers take you, I think. It's a bit wee-wee sounding, but that's really, that's it as far as I'm concerned. I wrote a post actually last night about life purpose, because, there's a lot written about, finding your life purpose, and it's almost like this, magical thing, the holy grail. I'm like, living your life purpose is just about being fully self-expressed and self-actualized. And by definition, that means that your purpose will change or deepen or evolve as you deepen and evolve.
And as you get to know yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's constantly evolving. I mean, unless you're stagnant, you're completely staying the same, which I think is impossible. It should grow and evolve as you grow and evolve.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's just allow yourself to do that. And I think that because I'm really, I think one of the reasons why I have such a strong community is that I am open about everything that's happening in my business. Like I do tell the truth about both sides of my business. I do tell when I'm tested and those sorts of things, so that when you're open to people, like vulnerability in business is one of the most underrated, like strengths. Like I always say, vulnerability is sexy. Like it's the way that we connect. It's the way, if you go to someone and say, I'm really being troubled by that, you give people permission to do the same, to be open about where they're being tested. And so I think that, if you have a community where it wouldn't be appropriate for all businesses, obviously, but for me, I chose to be very, very open. That's how I am in person. I figure that's how I should be with my community as well, right? Like, yeah, and just be okay with saying, I screwed it up, or I've learnt something, or, even with the mastermind that I'm running at the moment, I was very clear with them up front that it's a foundation intake. There will be teething problems. There will be things that you want changed. And I'm more than happy to hear your feedback and grow with you so that we can create something really special. When you set yourself up as the expert and you say, this is the way that you need to do it, I think that's a bit dangerous, because it's like separation.
Because we're not perfect.
And if you put me up on a pedestal, I'm just going to fall really hard.
So, Kylie, what are your top tips for how people can get from $12,000 per year to $12,000 per month, or whatever their goals are?
Oh, okay. So I would say I will stick with the 3 top tips of the fundamental principles of my mastermind, because I believe that mindset underpins everything, like not just business, everything. I hear people, I love listening to language, and I listen behind the lines, and people use simple language like I should, or I always, or I never, or I should try, I'm trying to, all of that. And what you're basically telling your brain every time that you language that is, it's not happening, it's not happening, it's not happening, it's not happening. So I would say be vigilant about your mindset. And I mean like hyper vigilant about your mindset. Go and find, there's so many resources out there about how to harness your mindset. Find something that works for you. So, I use lots of different things. I think EFT is a brilliant, because I'm Oriental medicine trained, right? So EFT uses the same meridians. So it's, to me, that just makes sense. It's emotional acupressure. So using EFT or tapping, there's heaps of stuff on Google about that. You can find the tapping solution. There's, if you, any sort of thing like that. I also feel that just simple things like journaling and understanding the normal ebbs and flows of positivity and negativity in your life. Like, I think people think that mindset coaching is all about positivity and we're just going to look at one side of it. It's actually not. Mindset coaching is about being real, about where you're being tested and what your superpowers are, and not focusing on either end of things without looking at the other side. Because that gives you a peacefulness inside. And finding like a belief buddy in business, I think that that's one of the underpinning things that was a success for me. Finding someone that you can really, really be open with and just like have that emergency call where you're freaking out or you're just about to press the go button on a launch and you're just completely not able to manage your own mindset. Having someone that can go, I'm going to come in there, I'm going to slap you around the head if you keep on treating yourself like that sort of person is really, really helpful for mindset. But yeah, just making sure that you pay attention to the things that you're telling yourself. So, we all have threads of I'm not good enough, she's better than me, it's never going to happen for me, blah, 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 like all of that crap. You just need to be vigilant about kicking that out of your cerebral cortex. The second thing I would say definitely is make friends with money. I see lots of women in business, they don't even have financial channels open in their business. And this is a concept I've just been really, really aware of in the last few weeks as I'm doing new strategy sessions for the new Mind Money Mojo intake. And one of the things that I've been seeing is, we say that we want to earn a particular amount of money. So say it's just $20,000 or $1,000, $100,000 or even $1 million. To do that, we need to be really, really aware of what we have open, what channels we have open to receive that sort of income. And a lot of the time, people say, I want to do this, but they don't have simple sales funnels. They don't ask people for the sale. They're not offering their services. They're really inconsistent with their messaging in the marketplace. And I'm like, you've got every single one of your channels has a big dam in it at the moment. You can't receive money when you don't A, have the processes and B, have the mindset around it. I think that for women, self-worth and money worth and finances in business are so interrelated, it's not funny. So understanding that, seeing where you're getting in your own way, and really, really, again, it's mindset as well around money, just really looking at what are your beliefs. Like one of the things that led me to adrenal fatigue definitely last year was this big kick-ass thing that I learned from my dad, which is you've got to work hard to make money. You've got to work hard to make money. And I still find myself dealing with that one and reminding myself that the more space and the more flow I give myself, the easier money comes to me and the more contribution I can offer. I see that a lot in the marketplace. I also see the I'm just a woman, I can't earn money. There's a lot of that going on out there. And also, I started a business, but it's never going to be like a super successful business because, I'm just, fill in the blank. Like I don't have enough, I don't have enough information. I don't have enough training. I don't have whatever. Oh my goodness, just be, again, really aware of that. And the third thing I would say, which no one talks about in business coaching land, like it's all about practical strategy and all that sort of stuff, is you have to take care of yourself. You are not practicing radical self-respect, which is how I phrase it. You are not energetically turning up the way that you want to. So, and again, you teach what you most need to learn, right? And here I am with adrenal fatigue this time last year. What that really taught me was I was giving lip service to self-care, but I wasn't embedding it as an absolute essential. So figuring out the ways that you are really sabotaging around, it could be as easy as nutrition, but often for us women, it's more about creating space and time for really close relationships. And instead of always being the one offering support, actually receiving support as well. Having a circle of women, or it doesn't have to be just women, a circle of people that are your cheer squad that will, help you when you're having those challenges, but also just connecting to yourself. Like, I think meditation should be like an absolute essential of every single entrepreneur's day. And, people go, I don't have time to meditate. And I kind of like that Dalai Lama thing. If you don't have time to meditate, that's even more reason to make space.
Yes.
Like if you don't have the time, you need to do this stuff. So just making a commitment to yourself to have some sort of quiet time, even if it's not meditation, but some sort of quiet time where you're not connected to social media, you're not doing. And for those of the people listening that are also mums, like I get the mum juggle as well. I understand that. But you can't keep on making everyone else more important than yourself.
Yeah.
If you are serious about growing a really successful business, you must have self-care nutted down underneath it as a foundation. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for a very, very unhappy ride, because sooner or later it won't be sustainable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say those are the three: and mindset, money, consciousness, and practical business strategies. And then the Mojo piece is self-care.
Excellent. So, Kylie, how can other women in business benefit from working with you?
Oh, my goodness.
You've got a number
if
of
they're looking
options.
for someone who's a no coach, then I'm their girl. No. My point of difference is that I don't believe in one size fits all marketing. I don't believe there's one size fits all in life either. So I still have two very distinct sides of my business. From a life coaching perspective, or health and life coaching perspective, I feel like the most important benefit is that the way that I walk people through. I have a program called Destination Delicious, which is, I call it life transformation, but it's really just getting into the groove of understanding who you are and what you want to be in the world through mindset and health principles. But it's really just, it's embracing, understanding that you are innately powerful, like hugely powerful. No one out there understands how powerful they are, because we've all been conditioned to believe that there's a particular way of doing things and it's one size fits all and you must be normal and you must fit into the box and all of that crap. I think that the biggest thing that people say when they go through the life side of my program is, I was so disconnected from myself and now I understand what I really want. And I also have the confidence and the quiet peacefulness inside of me to know that it's possible for me to do that as well. And then I think from a business coaching perspective, or I don't really even like the business coaching term, but Mind Money Mojo coaching for women entrepreneurs, it's just about really getting an appreciation for where you want your business to go. Because there's a lot of, you get to six figures or whatever. You know what? Some people don't want a six-figure business. They want a $50,000 business so they can stay at home with their kids, or, they're semi-retired and they want that. So it's really about creating a business on your own terms that fills your soul, offers your superpowers to the world, and then therefore allows you to live your life purpose. That's what it's all about. And again, the fact that you are innately powerful, way more ever imagined, and that when you treat yourself well and set good boundaries in business and look at your mindset, that you can create amazing things. So yeah, it's I guess the thing that ties them together is that we have the power to create whatever we want, and it's our virtue. Well, I think by virtue of the simple fact you were born, you deserve to have a business that nourishes you and a life that nourishes you, if you want. Obviously, not everyone wants a business, but
yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, Kylie, do you have any women business mentors? Are there any women in business who inspire you?
Yes. I have been working all year with someone who has been, oh my goodness, such a gobsmacking example of being grounded and real and soulful and strategic, very, very savvy business person. I've been being mentored by Natalie McNeil from She Takes on the World this whole year, and will continue to be under her care and attention going into 2015. I just spent time with Nat in Bali for a business immersion retreat for her VIP mastermind, and I still went into that retreat thinking, do I have the right clothes to go to here? Am I going to fit in with this group of entrepreneurs? Like, am I really good enough to be here? Like, I still, just because I'm a mindset coach doesn't mean I don't get afflicted by this crap in my head either.
Of course.
Honestly, she was the most grounded, most real, most open, most comfortable being vulnerable, telling the whole story. And I just thought, and she, has an incredibly successful business. She's only quite young, like much younger than me, but in her third year of business in this business. And it was such a relief to finally have a really good example of being able to be yourself and still be incredibly successful, offer a massive amount of contribution to the world, but don't have to sacrifice your soul or your scruples or who you are. Like that, I just walked away from that thinking, oh my Lord, look at that world, here I come. Because, I think that there's a lot of examples out there of people that, they do earn really good incomes, but I don't want to have to earn an income by putting on a bright, shiny, guru-like external, because it worries me that when we're not real about what it takes and we're not real about both sides of entrepreneurship, the good, the bad and the ugly, that we're really psyching out the people that, you know, they do have gifts, they're just new in their business, and when they see all those bright, shiny people, they go, I am never going to be able to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we miss out on their gifts because people give up before they understand that you don't have to sacrifice yourself to do all of that. So yeah, that was a very powerful lesson. It's only a month since I've been back, and it's very exciting.
Excellent. So Kylie, where can people find you online?
They can find me just at KyliePatchett.com. So Patchett is my last name. We're undergoing a big rebrand at the moment, which is very exciting, heading into the new year. I'm just about to turn 40 and celebrate my third year in business on the 30th of January. So
congratulations.
We decided to give ourselves a facelift and put the two sides of my business together. I've been kind of keeping them separate, I guess, but the new integrated version of my site will be very cool because it, again, is more in line with where I feel like my strengths are. So, you can still find me there.
Fabulous. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed chatting.
Yes, and thank you for listening. And remember to visit sociallyholistic.com/SHP72 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Socially Holistic Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. Please help us help more women in business by giving us a 5-star review of this podcast. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more successful businesses there will be. So please leave a 5-star review today over at iTunes. Thank you.